Coming up on the program today, we're going to harvest the garlic that was planted last fall.
If you're new to our channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Sponsored by migardener.com, with over 450 varieties of non-GMO, heirloom, organic flowers, vegetables, and herb seeds, all for 99 cents. migardener.com.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Baird. We are in the garlic patch today, and it's time to harvest the garlic. We may be a little early, but we're going to go ahead and get it out because it's about the time that we normally harvest it. Now, the telltale signs, this is a hardneck variety. One, you're going to get scapes. Now, we've already removed the scape. The scape is the center stalk that grows outward and then curls, and then if left alone, will create a massive flower head that will produce seeds. Now, those seeds can take about 2 years if you plant from seed in order to get a bulb like we're going to harvest today, or you can get the clove, the largest clove from the bulbs in which we harvest now, we can hold on to and plant in the fall. We won't want to open the bulbs up and get the largest clove for that. We want to wait until we're about ready to plant in order to keep them from drying out. So with the soft neck garlic, you will know when it's ready because it will fall over. Hard neck, the lower sets of leaves begin to die off. Now, we've got one set of leaves here on most of these plants that have begun to turn yellow. The second would be better if we had that, but it's going to get very, very warm, so we're going to harvest it now. And it's not going to hurt anything. Then we're going to let it cure, and we'll talk about that. You don't have to let it cure. You can go ahead and use this right away as green garlic or fresh garlic. We planted this the first Saturday in October last year. We worked the soil, planted it, and then we didn't mulch it at all. We never mulch our garlic. Some people choose to do that, but you can get in some difficult situations by over mulching and it not sprouting up quite good. Early spring, we came in and we mulched with shredded paper. A lot of that remnants is still there. There wasn't a whole lot of weeds. Those have made their introduction here. And the bulbs, the cloves that were planted that had begun to sprout early this spring had been pushed up. We had planted about 2.5 to 3 inches deep. So we mounded the soil back up and used IV Organic 6 macro fertilizer in a water-soluble mixture and watered the garlic in here. Here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about, escape. It didn't get harvested. Comes out, curls over. If left alone, this will get 6 foot tall, put a flower on it. So let's see what we have here. We do not want to just physically pull it out. One, it's very dry. It's not going to work. Even in good loose soil, you want to get underneath the bulb and loosen it up because you want that to stay all intact for the curing process. All right, well, that's not a bad looking bulb. There is some moisture there, even though the top is very dry. Now, the concern that I had was the cloves were almost setting directly on top of the soil this spring after the thaw and the freeze of the winter. So when we healed it back up, I was concerned that we may not have got it deep enough for the bulbs to finish growing. But that is a good size bulb there. So we will harvest a couple of more here and see what we get. These are very nice looking plants. Another decent sized bulb, not super massive. You can see the difference there, about 1/3 smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest some of these here. Going to harvest all of them and see what we end up getting. Again, we don't want to pull up. We want to loosen the soil because we will detach the stalk from the bulb, and you're going to have to dig in the soil in order to get the bulb anyway. And the curing process, we'll talk about that in a moment. So we've harvested all the garlic. Very happy with the results in which we got. We had 75 plants. Some we had kind of on the small side. Many we had on the larger side. That's a good size garlic there. Now the varieties in which we have here are Spanish Roja, German Hardy, Georgia Crystal, Purple Galaxy, and there's 1 or 2 more varieties in which we've lost memory of because we do not specifically hold one variety and take the largest cloves from it and replant it. We just go through all of these and we'll find, for example, if this is one of the largest bulbs, we'll set this aside until late September, and then we'll open it up before we plant in October and get the largest cloves, and that in turn will translate to a large bulb next year at this time. Now, one thing I did not explain is why we cut off the scapes. If you're a new garlic grower, the scapes is that tall curlicue, here it is, that this one didn't get harvested. If left alone, even in this state, even though it's out of the ground, if we don't trim this off in another 4 to 5 weeks, this will get long in about another 2.5, 3 foot, go vertical, and put a massive flower on. We've done that, we've left them out of the ground, and learned that even with it's removing the energy from the bulb in order to create the seeds for the offspring. Leeks will do this as well. If you harvest them late in the spring, before they go to seed and you don't do anything with them, the seed pod will, the energy will get removed from the root system and form the seeds. By removing this 2.5, 3, 4 weeks ago, this would reduce and less energy. There would be no energy going into this and more energy going into bulb development. That's the reason why. This is edible. This only occurs on a hardneck garlic. So very good garlic. Now the way we're going to cure this, you can take, what many people do is take a bundle of 6, 7, 10, tie them, and then hang them in an eaves of a garage, a shed, a porch, out of direct sunlight, but a lot of air to allow it to dry. Vertically, it's hung because then the energy from the top portion of the plant will drain into the bulb to add more flavor to the bulb. These are not hot as in spicy, but intense in flavor, unlike any garlic you've ever had from the store. What we have found that works well, instead of bundling these up, since we've got so many, we take a container like this and we set them in here and just let them set for about 4 weeks in a side bedroom with the windows open that's off the side of the house. And these will turn brown, and then at that time you can go ahead and trim them back to the bulb. We always leave about 3 or 4 just for just the way we like to trim them, about 4 inches up, and they will keep for about 9 to 12 months. Past that time they begin to dry up inside of the bulb, and they lose a lot of viability in flavor, and they're just not good to cook with. So try to get them used up. Now we harvest these and we space them so we can have good sized bulbs, which in turn will give us good cloves, 1 for cooking and eating, 2 for planting next year. We're going to go on the other side of the Jerusalem artichokes and dig up 1 clump of garlic, hardneck garlic, that had been planted 15 months ago. Last spring, it was spring garlic that we experimented with. It died off, didn't do anything, forgot about it. It regenerated this spring. So I'm going to dig it up and we're going to show you why we need to space these in order to get a good bulb size. So we have Jerusalem artichokes that are encroaching over on this bed here. But I've got 1 bundle here of garlic and I got another bundle here. This was all planted, each one of these with 1 clove. So I'm going to dig it up and see what we actually have. Again, 15 months ago. Very dry soil here. Got a root there of the tree. There we go. Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stalks. So there was a bulb here that developed that had 5 cloves. And you can see the size and how small they are compared to what we had been digging up. The reason being because they're competing with each other. This other clump is going to be the same way. Got a Jerusalem artichoke in the middle of this. I'll get rid of that. And you can see these are even smaller. Now, let's say, for instance, you found a variety of garlic at an old homestead, and they continued to do this year after year because there was nothing and nobody there to harvest. So you had a bulb like this of a very rare variety. What one can do is plant this, break it apart, plant this, and over a course of 5 or 6 or 7 years, that bulb will continue to get larger off the next generation, and several years down the road, you can actually have a good-sized clove which you can plant to get a good-sized bulb. There have been gardeners who have been successful in doing that. So if you've never planted garlic, you can do it in the spring, but we find far better success in the fall here in Zone 5 in the upper Midwest. Thanks for joining me. Join me again for more organic gardening and harvesting. I'm Joy Baird, and you've been watching the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.